I don't like Fox News. They play both sides of the table. Here goes.
Williams, Greg Gutfeld, and Dagan McDowell. We're working on getting Jesse. We're going to get him. This is the 5. At any moment, the White House Coronavirus Task Force will begin. And here's the latest on the pandemic. The death toll rising to 12,000. And there are over 380,000 cases now confirmed in the United States. So far, this is an important number to me, 20,000 people have recovered from the virus. And there are some other
20,000 have recovered.
Positive signs. Dr. Deborah Birx says the U.S. death toll can be lower than what the models have predicted. And the stock market is starting to rebound over signs the economy could bounce back sooner. Here's President Trump on that.
Democrats, because they view this as a campaign issue. They want to make Trump look as bad as they can because they want to try and win an election that they shouldn't be allowed to win based on the fact that we have done a great job. We built the greatest economy in the world. I'll do it a second time.
The president also asking Congress for an additional $250 billion for the small business loan program.
I'm sure the small business loan program is pretty important. I've talked about where a lot of the big money went, and unfortunately, no one is talking about that. We'll get more on that from Alex Jones.
And White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow dropped this hint about reopening the economy. Watch.
The president would like to reopen the economy as soon as he can, and we are planning internally. We're looking at a number. I say most of this is health and virus-related metrics, but we also are looking at the economics of the story, how best to get us going.
All right, Greg, let me go to you first because there are these little sort of glimmers of hope, and it's almost like looking through a stargazer, and you can see not a full light at the end of the tunnel, but there is some pinpricks of light, especially as if it's true that there's a lower death toll and a lower rate of infection than the models originally predicted.
Yeah, and because the models didn't factor into a lot of the mitigation that we undertook, which is, the social distancing, the almost paranoid hygiene practices that are driving me crazy, and the drugs. And I think the drugs are showing promise, and I think the stock market's reacting to it. And you might be seeing the death being a lagging indicator for this week as people aren't going into the hospital as much. I want to defend every single person who was wrong on this, because I think the best analogy for dealing with this pandemic is a sports car. You have to shift gears depending on the terrain, which is the information that you get along the way. So you might have one expert, like Fauci, the top expert, who early on says,
Fauci sucks. I'm going to get past him. I don't like this stuff.
Step outside. I said the other day, the light at the end of the tunnel. You walk outside right now, spring is almost sprung. Those little green buds are starting to burst up through the soil. The birds are chirping. It's getting warmer. You can feel it coming. So we just keep our fingers crossed, stay focused, and we're going to get through it soon.
We grieve alongside every family who has lost a precious loved one. New Yorkers are tough and strong and brave. New Jerseyites are tough and strong and brave, and they're being hit very hard right now. And for the next week, hopefully not much longer than that, it's going to start to go in the other direction. Our country is being hit hard, but some areas have done so incredibly well. We're so proud of them. They will beat this virus. We're going to beat it with the grit and the heart for which they're known and for which our country is known. And we appreciate everything that everybody is doing. We pray for Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He's become a great friend of ours. He loves this country. He loves his country. But he loves the USA. And he's always been very good to us. Whenever we had difficulty, he was with us, and we appreciate it. So we pray for Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He's going through a lot. As we intensify our military campaign against the virus, I think that it must be brought out that we have to thank the American people for continuing to follow our guidelines on slowing the spread, an expression that more and more people are thinking about. Nobody ever heard of it 2 months ago, and now everybody is talking about slowing the spread, stopping the spread. even during this painful week, we see glimmers of very, very strong hope. And this will be a very painful week. And next week, at least part of next week, but probably all of it. Look, if one person dies, it's a painful week. And we know that's going to unfortunately happen. This is a monster we're fighting. But signs are that our strategy is totally working. Every American has a role to play in winning this war. And we're going to be winning it. And we're going to be winning it powerfully. And we'll be prepared for the next one should it happen, but hopefully it won't. Our massive airlift operation for critical supplies, it's called Project Airbridge, continued today as 5 massive planes, flights landed in the United States packed with personal protective equipment. And our nation's heroic healthcare workers will be the beneficiaries of that. 27 more flights are scheduled in the near future over the next couple of weeks. The Army Corps of Engineers is constructing facilities that will support more than 15,000 hospital beds to treat patients in need. So they're building now approximately 15,000. They just completed the big one in New York. They just completed and are in the process of continuing in Chicago and many other places. They're incredible. The Army Corps of Engineers, we owe them a lot. What they were able to do in such a short period of time. They'll build these massive facilities, 2,000 beds in 4 days. So it's really something very special. I know I was in the construction industry, and you don't see that happen very often. I want to remind governors and emergency managers that sharing real-time data with us about equipment and their needs is very important. All of their supplies, hospital occupancy is critical. A lot of the occupancy is really getting a little bit lower than anticipated, and that's good. We sort of thought that was going to happen. And we're getting along very well with the governors. This whole situation with respect to talking to us about equipment and equipment needs, giving us a little bit of lead time, so important. All the supplies, we're getting it to everybody like they never thought possible, but we'll ensure that we can rapidly deploy federal assets where and when they're needed, especially on ventilators. We're actually getting some ventilators back. As you know, the state of California was great. They sent some back, which they won't need, and Washington State likewise. And we have some others coming back, so we're using them in areas we need them. We are pressing forward aggressively on the scientific frontier of the medical war. The companies, I've spoke to the 4 leading, I call them the genius companies. They're doing incredibly well with respect to cures and also with respect to a vaccine that's going to protect us, totally protect us, and they have some great potential. It's going to take a little while yet, but they have some great potential, some great early results. And the governor's been working hard, and we are working hard with the governors. There's been great coordination, especially over the last little while. We're giving them a lot of equipment, a lot of ventilators, but a lot of equipment of all types. And I will protect you if your governor fails. If you have a governor that's failing, we're going to protect you. But the governors are working well with us over the last period of time. Today, in our stockpile of ventilators, and again, we need the stockpile so we can immediately move them from place to place wherever the monster hits. It's a monster. We have 8,675 ventilators right now in stock, ready to move. And we have all sorts of incredible soldiers. Our military is going to move them should they be needed. In, as an example, if we need additional in New York or the New York City area, you have state, you have city, and spoke to Mayor de Blasio, and we really have a great, well-coordinated campaign with Mayor de Blasio. It's been really good. Spoke to Governor Cuomo. There's been great coordination. So if they need something, we have it. If Louisiana needs something, we have it. Same thing with Michigan, same thing with Illinois. There are certain spots that are very hot, and we'll see what happens, but we'll know pretty much. We'll have time, and we'll be able to move it. In addition to the 8,675 ventilators, We have 2,200 arriving on April 13th. We have 5,500 arriving on May 4th. These are ones that we're building for the most part. And we have, as you know, great companies building them. Ford, General Motors, GE. We have really some great companies that are doing it. On May 18th, we have 12,000. On June 1st, we have 20,000. On June 29th, we have 60,000 ventilators coming, 60. So we have a total of 110,000 ventilators coming over a short period of time. I don't think we'll need them. Hopefully we won't need them. I don't think we'll need anywhere near them. But we'll have them for the future, and we'll also be able to help other countries who are desperate for ventilators. The UK called today, and they wanted to know would it be possible to get 200, and we're going to work it out. We got to work it out. They've been great partners, United Kingdom, and we're going to work it out for them. So they wanted 200. They needed them desperately. We now have 10 drugs in active trials, with 15 more soon to follow, as well as 2 vaccine candidates in active clinical trials. We'll do whatever it takes to secure needed medical supplies and bring more production of essential medicines back to our shores. We're doing that. We're bringing them back to our shores. A lot of these companies, they went a little bit haywire. They went away from this great country and they had them produced elsewhere. So we're going to start bringing them back. I've been talking about that for a long time, not only with medical, but lots of other things. America continues to perform more tests than any other nation in the world, and I think that's probably why we have more cases. Because when you look at some of these very large countries, I know for a fact that they have far more cases than we do, but they don't report them. We've performed 1.87 million tests to date, so that's 1,870,000 tests. Think of that, 1,870,000 tests to date. And now we're performing them at a level that nobody's ever seen before. As we announced yesterday, CVS testing sites in Georgia and Rhode Island will be using Abbott Labs rapid 5-minute tests. We're down to now 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute test so that people can get their results back very quickly. And we're actively engaging on the problem of increased impacts. This is a real problem, and it's showing up very strongly in our data on the African American community, and we're doing everything in our power to address this challenge. It's a tremendous challenge. It's terrible. And provide support to African American citizens of this country who are going through a lot, but it's been disproportional. They're getting hit very, very hard. In fact, while we have Tony here, I'd like to maybe have you come up and address that one, and then I'll continue. But if you could address that, it would be great, Tony, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We have a particularly difficult problem of an exacerbation of a health disparity. We've known literally forever that diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and asthma are disproportionately afflicting the minority populations, particularly the African Americans. Unfortunately, when you look at the predisposing conditions that lead to a bad outcome with coronavirus, the things that get people into ICUs that require intubation and often lead to death, they are just those very comorbidities that are unfortunately disproportionately prevalent in the African American population. So we're very concerned about that. It's very sad. It's nothing we can do about it right now except to try and give them the best possible care to avoid those complications. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And Tony, I think you're going to have some pretty accurate numbers over the next few days, right? But they are they're very nasty numbers, terrible numbers. In total, 1,200 Abbott machines, Abbott laboratories have been fantastic, have been shipped now nationwide. Up to 500 more are being produced every week, and 50,000 testing cartridges are being manufactured per day. That means a lot of very fast tests. No nation in the world has developed a more diverse and robust testing capacity than the United States. We're dealing with other nations, helping them out because the testing is very tough for them, and our tests are very accurate. A lot of tests are out there, and they're not accurate at all. In fact, some of the tests, you don't have a clue what's going on. So we're working with other nations trying to get them help also. At a time when many Americans are experiencing increased stress, anxiety, and personal loss, we must also ensure that our country can meet the mental health needs of those struggling in this crisis. There are people struggling. They're struggling. And some people are getting to know each other, frankly. Some families are getting to know each other on a positive note, but there are a lot of people struggling. On Thursday, I'll be speaking to leaders and advocates from the mental health organizations all across our country. And we are going to be talking about resources and tools that we'll make available to them. They need help. And it's a big problem. When you take something where it was the most successful country in the world, still is, the whole world is shut down. Think of it, we're down to numbers that are incredible. As I said yesterday, I think it's 182 countries right now. 182 countries are under attack by the scourge, by this virus. But as we wage medical war on the virus, we're also speeding economic relief to our people. It's incredible. We just had a meeting that was absolutely incredible with the banks. I spoke with leaders in the banking and finance industry about our efforts to help American workers and employers. As of today, small business has processed more than $70 billion in guaranteed loans and will provide much needed relief for nearly 250,000 businesses already. So we are going to be providing tremendous amounts of money to the small businesses of our country who have been absolutely clobbered. And they'll be keeping open, and they'll be paying their employees, and they'll be all set to go. We're going to have a rocket upward. I want to thank David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs, Brian Moynihan, CEO of Bank of America, Gordon Smith, co-president, COO of JP Morgan Chase, Charles Scharf, CEO of Wells Fargo, Michael Corbett, CEO of Citigroup, Al Kelly, CEO of Visa, Michael Miebach, CEO of MasterCard, Noah Wilcox, CEO, Chairman of Grand Rapids State Bank, and we had numerous others also on the call, and I just appreciate them. We're way ahead of schedule, by the way. We're way ahead of schedule. The Paycheck Protection Program has been incredible. So based on the incredible success of the program, I'm announcing that I'll be asking Congress to provide an additional $250 billion for the Paycheck Protection, which will help keep Americans employed to facilitate a quick and full recovery. We're doing very well. We're looking very bipartisan. A lot of people want to do it. And the plan is amazing. You know, they're processing hundreds of thousands of loans. And this is the big banks that are doing it, the community banks. But the biggest banks right now in our country are doing it, and they're doing it for a lot of reasons. One of them is they want to help people. The WHO, that's the World Health Organization, receives vast amounts of money from the United States, and we pay for a majority, a biggest portion of their money. And they actually criticized and disagreed with my travel ban at the time I did it. And they were wrong. They've been wrong about a lot of things. And they had a lot of information early, and they didn't want to, they seemed to be very China-centric. And we have to look into that. So we're going to look into it. We give a majority of the money that they get. And it's much more than the $58 million is a small portion of what they've gotten over the years. Sometimes they get much more than that. Sometimes it's for programs that they're doing, and it's much bigger numbers. And if the programs are good, that's great as far as we're concerned. But we want to look into it. World Health Organization, because they really are, they called it wrong. They call it wrong. They missed the call. They could have called it months earlier. They would have known. And they should have known, and they probably did know. So we'll be looking into that very carefully, and we're going to put a hold on money spent to the WHO. We're going to put a very powerful hold on it, and we're going to see. It's a great thing if it works, but when they call every shot wrong, that's no good. We're in the midst of a great national struggle, one that requires the shared sacrifice of all Americans. In recent weeks, it's been remarkable to see so many companies and organizations and individuals like the banks that I just told you about, biggest banks in the world. They stepped up to help small business. They're big business, small business. The small business will someday be the big business. But the small business is 50% of our economic strength. People don't realize when you add them up, but they just rose to the occasion. Everybody's rising to the occasion. It's been incredible to watch. To honor and celebrate.
I'm going to end it here. I don't know what's going on. Fox News is broken in link. My concern is that this is too much corporation-centered. This is too much elite corporation-centered, world corporation-centered. I know we need to financially recover from it, but once the world elites and the world corporations see how well it is and how easy it is to control things from a medical perspective, from a virus perspective, it's scary. 182 countries are being affected by this. This is a worldwide pandemic, and too much is going on. To me, freedoms are being lost. They may need to be curtailed, but very powerful. The elites are looking at this, and it does not look good, in my opinion. This is Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. There's an update from President Trump, mainly, and a little bit from Fox News. Stay vigilant. Remember the principles of the Constitution. Remember our religious freedoms, we need to get back. People remember our right to gather. We need to get that back. Remember the freedom of speech. We need to get that back. And remember our other civil rights and responsibilities to encourage government to be more transparent, more responsible, more diligent on that responsibility. Again, it's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Join me and subscribe to my channel. We'll keep you on updates and other things that the major networks won't talk about. Most of it will come out of Glenn Beck, or will come out of InfoWars, or will come out of other areas. Selectively speaking, our news, national media needs to do a much better job than they're currently doing. That is sad, and that is still going on. Very selective and very propaganda type news, very fake news, very partial news, and it's most regrettable. Look at the good things in life, look at the good things that are going on. We're going to need that faith, we're going to need that unity, and we're going to need the strength of positive, mental, emotional, and conservative individuals. Good day.